morning, Nudelberg, Daily Huddle. We are back. It's Tuesday. We are ready to get after it. And Steve Nudelberg will not be with us for another day. He and Jake are in Fayetteville, North Carolina, kicking it off with the Sistel people. So super excited for that. And disappointed I can't join them this morning, but glad to be here with you, sir. Good morning, Shay.
Morning. Missed you
Welcome
yesterday.
to the true co-pilot seat.
I was able to get you guys kicked off in the morning. Had a little technical difficulties, so popped in real quick and got you guys going.
You did a great job. Thanks for helping us out yesterday morning, and it's good to have you in the seat. Not only did you help us get started yesterday, but you had the great opportunity of throwing out the first pitch. And why don't you show us how it actually went?
Yeah, real quick.
Here's the pitch.
That's not how it went.
That is actually not how it went. But were you concerned at all that might actually be how it goes?
So the opportunity definitely presented itself. The mascot was sitting right back there. Number one goal was to not bounce it. So
make sure you got it to the catcher.
Correct. So I will play that clip here real quick, and
let's see it.
Yeah.
As the elder former college baseball player that handles the day-to-day operations, executive support, and social media for on-the-ball vendors. He has a versatile background through his experience in sales and sports. Beginning with baseball and being a catcher helps change his personality and life. All right, when you're ready, let's see a strike. Great pitch, and a special thanks to Christopher De La Cruz for catching.
Yes, sir. Well done. First of all, the introduction as you walk to the mound was very substantial. Yeah. Love the intro, and then great first ball.
Yeah, gave him a quick little bio. Obviously, first name gets butchered quite frequently, so no matter how many times we gave them the correct spelling, once it gets translated, when you say something to one person, then they pass along, the story is totally different. So you got up to the press box and didn't work out too good. But Lou, yes, definitely that is Bull Durham all-time favorite movie for sure. Whenever it's on.
And you had the baby with you, so great pictures of Danielle and Chanel and you guys being there. So cool that she got to be on the field. And to see you throw out the first pitch, although we all know that she's never going to remember that, and you're going to have to show her that video for the rest of your life for the claim to fame.
Well, we got the baseball. She tries to eat the baseball, so the baseball will go up on the wall and say, "Hey, this was your first game," even though you don't remember it. So,
well, I mean, hopefully, she lives out the Sandlot where she actually ends up swiping that ball and using it to play with her friends at some point and ruining it.
It'll probably disappear at some point. Yes.
I love that. Well, we got a great show for you guys today. We've got Andy Hill with us this morning, which is super exciting. Excited to dive into a little bit more of his story. We're going to talk about celebrating small businesses and entrepreneurial mindsets and the power of video and what they're doing within the organization to really move the needle forward there. We got some great national days to celebrate. Before we do any of that, we've got to wake up. Let's go to work.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody! No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
So it is a fantastic day. I'm going to get through a couple national days. I saw that it was National Nevada Day, and I don't know about how many people know about Nevada, have been to Nevada. I think most people think about Las Vegas when they hear Nevada. But for me, it obviously holds a very special place in my heart because I got to spend a year at the University of Nevada in Reno, coaching, being a part of that rivalry with UNLV and battling for the Cannon and winning the Cannon, and just really an amazing, experience going out to the West Coast. I bet you didn't know that Reno is actually farther west than LA is because of the way it shifts out there. It's a few hours away from San Francisco. And so, not that I'm highly recommending you travel to Reno for a vacation, but if you're looking to go skiing in Tahoe, if you're going to do hiking in Tahoe, it's worth a stop. You got to fly into Reno anyway. So it's worth a little stop in and enjoying the biggest little city.
I was going to say, it's the biggest little city.
Yeah. And, Battleborn is their big thing while we were there. So it was great. It was great to be there. Super proud of my time at Nevada. And then it is also, as Greg Goldstein says, it is Mom and Pop Business Day, which is an opportunity to celebrate local small businesses, which obviously we are all about that. We are all about celebrating our local businesses, being a part. The best way to celebrate today's Mom and Pop Business Day is to go support your local businesses. Go have a sandwich at your local sandwich shop. Go grab a coffee at your local coffee shop. I know for me in Oakland Park, shout out to some of my favorite places, which are Circle House Coffee, Sith Coffee, Living Green. If you want to go grab some great food, Gourmet Gardens, the lunchroom for sandwiches and food. So if you guys are around the Oakland Park area today, or if you want to get some sushi, stop into Fat Boy Sushi. But some of my local spots that I love to frequent. And
West Palm, I popped into Johan's Joe yesterday. Well, there we go. I had to take a call after I dropped Papa Noodle off at the Bright Line, so I took a call and stopped into Johan's and was a patron of the small mom and pop shop.
Big fans of our local coffee shop. So without any further ado, it is time to get into the show with Andy Hill. I'm super excited to have the show with him today. Andy, welcome back, my man.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good. I feel like we got to go hands up. I
was thinking of to throw back.
So for those of you who don't know, Andy and I have one season in the books of a show called Path, which we'll get to talking about. But before we lead into the show, we've got some appropriate morning motivational music for us. Let's play that, Shay, and then we'll come back and we'll spend some time with Andy.
Been away, haven't changed, had much to say, but man, I still think them cats are crazy. They were asking if you were around, how you was, where you could be found. Told them you were living downtown, driving all the old men crazy. The boys are back in town, boys are back in town. I said, the boys are back in town.
The boys are back in town. It is not Path, but it is a Path takeover of the Nudelberg Daily Huddle. Andy, it's good to see you. What's going on?
It's great seeing you. You know what I was doing while listening to that song? Pulling up maps and seeing if Reno is really farther west than LA.
And I proved you
when you zoom in, it doesn't seem like that. But then when you zoom out, you're like, oh, wow.
So
the fact of the day is there.
Okay, so another fun fact for you about Nevada is that it's correctly pronounced Nevada. Most people will say Nevada that are from the East Coast. And if you say Nevada in Nevada, they will shoot you. It is like the worst thing that it's like hurts their soul when you do it to them. So they're very proud of the way you're supposed to say Nevada.
Well, I'm from Missouri, and if you get any of our governors involved, they'll call it Missouri. and we'll have a whole other conversation.
Oh, I love I love it. Well, today is hello to
My
Lena in the
beautiful wife in
background,
the
right?
background.
Was that Lena?
Yeah, it was.
I love it. Hi, Lena. Good morning. So welcome back to the show. Love to have you here. We've had you here before. I think where we want to kind of take off is it's National Mom and Pop's Business Day, small businesses. I know that number one, City Furniture started as a small business and has grown. I know you guys support lots of small businesses, but I also know that your dad was an entrepreneur and you know what it's like to have family business. So what does National Mom and Pop Business Day mean to you?
I first think of my grandpa who ran a touring company in St. Louis, and it truly was mom and pop. Wife in, like they bought a bus, wife in the front seat, and they're just giving tours of St. Louis as much as possible. And you know what that feels like to live and die based on your own income coming in, right? And so when I think there, then you're right. I did come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad has started quite a few in his life, and it comes with a lot of different things. It comes with the recognition as a family member of that. Is like early on, I honestly got to see my dad on Saturdays or on Sundays, and so that's how we became such a Dolphin fan. It's like the time you get to spend with dad, because unlike now, where remote has enabled far less travel, then it wasn't. And so we were based in St. Louis, and some of his clients were in Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, all those kind of things. So that's to me, what it reminds me of is the hardships that mom and pop businesses go through every day. It reminds me of, it's not just mom and pop, it's a family run business at that point. Because everyone's giving to that in different ways, whether they know it or not.
That's so well put. Gary Vee talks about, starting in the wine shop with his family business and taking over his dad's. Was there any kind of coming up for you that you were going to take over one of your dad's businesses, or that you wanted to work with your dad, or did you get a start in an internship working for him? Or how did your entrepreneurial journey start with your dad?
So honestly, like idolize my dad, hero,
right?
Exactly who you want to be. And as a part of entrepreneurship, it's also like an odd phrase because it means I wanted to go create my own thing a lot of different ways. And so there wasn't a lot of interest in working with him. Like I envy what you and like Steve do together. I think it's an incredible way where you guys merge that together, but my life path didn't have that as much.
Right.
And it was much more, no, I'm going to go figure this out. Like, I think that's always been my life, is like, let me just go run and let's see what happens,
Yeah, 1,000%. So do you want to share a little bit of your background before you got to City Furniture in the startup space and your entrepreneurial journey a little bit?
Absolutely. I've started and sold, started and failed 10 plus companies, I guess. And so with it, there's been some really, really interesting ones around predictive sports analytics. In 2016, we were the world's sharpest predictor of baseball. And that was pretty interesting. We were in the social good space, in the mobile technology space. We've learned some really incredible things, built some really large businesses at different times, and then also failed. So in August of 2015, it was the worst month of my life, where we were able to raise a couple rounds of funding. And then me, as a 23-year-old founder, had no idea where to go next when we tried to raise our Series B. And I had to tell 30 of my closest friends and family that I failed them. And so I have quite a few different ones. Now I exist more in the venture space and investing in different companies. Some people have hobbies of skiing. I have hobbies of just tinkering and building companies. And so it is forever in my blood. It's something that I will forever love to do. But when I ask entrepreneurs, like, hey, why did you start your business? How come? Where did it go from? All those kind of things. I hear a litany of answers, but it all gets kind of rooted down into a couple of things. Because if you want to be your own boss, that's not the case. Don't go into entrepreneurship. Don't go into mom and pop, because instead of having one boss, you have 1,000 bosses, which is your employees and customers. If you want to make more money, don't go into entrepreneurship. It's not where you want to go. Be the 10th employee of a startup and go into those particular things. That's where the money is. Like, it's just not where it is. There's a high risk of failure, and 90% of companies fail over the first 5 years. It's like, don't go into it that way. And so if you want better work-life balance, don't go into entrepreneurship. It's not going to work. You're going to have more. Like, so when you hear all the like glitz and glamour about small business owners and like this entrepreneurial place, those aren't the actual reasons. And ultimately it comes down to, it's like, you just can't not. And you can't not do it. And that's where like the blood really lives. And it's like, that's where I really have a lot of respect for those who go up and do their own thing.
So you're a very interesting individual, because you have this hardcore entrepreneurial spirit where you love to build, you see ideas and have ideas and love to go after them, but you're also the CRO of City Furniture. And so how has your entrepreneurial journey, right, and that mindset, and I know that it's a core value for City Furniture employees to have that entrepreneurial spirit, how has that helped you as the CRO? And how does that differentiate you as maybe somebody else who's sitting in the C-suite that's never actually built their own business?
It's an assertion of risk, and it is also an ability to fail that you allow yourself to have through that risk. And so when you really fail in life, it gives you this really unique opportunity to say it's okay because you survived it and you go through those things. And so one of the biggest value adds I think I bring to City Furniture is a willingness and hunger to test and learn. And an ability to say it's okay to fail. Are they recoverable mistakes? How do we continue down this path? And you can redefine that word into the sexier words of today of innovation and disruption.
I know it was coming, but you're so right. And I love the fact that you broke it down that way, because innovation is the sexy word. Everybody's like, oh, technology, new ideas. And they're like, we get this new toy and it makes us do all of these cool things, when the reality of innovation is constant iteration and constant testing and failure in order to get to that thing that ends up being the great idea that takes you further than that. Like the idea of that, like, you're going to have an idea and be successful and it's just going to go, is what most people think and see. And they're like, oh yeah, that's what's going to happen. But it's not the reality of what actually happens in order to get to the thing. So having that, how do you manage people who maybe don't have the entrepreneur spirit, right? Maybe they don't want to be entrepreneurs. They want to work inside of an organization and they want to be taken care of and know that they live in a safe environment, yet push their boundaries continuously to test and grow and fail.
There is different levels of risk aversion in any human being. And that's what I would define as entrepreneurship in a lot of different ways. It's just how risky are you and what you're willing to take on to do it. And so some might not have as much of aspiration to reinvent a business, to really say, hey, this is status quo and I'm good there. But I do find that every individual I work alongside does want to be their best self. And so when you find that, I think there's a unique opportunity. You just have to get past one key element. And like I say this all the time, but I really do believe it, is you have to get past this idea in a culture, because when you deal with disruptive leaders or those who are continually trying to be their best selves, or a lot of type A, type B, type C personalities putting into these things, it comes down to one key element to be able to drive disruption in your organization. And that is two things, an ability. So I guess it's two things. One is the ability to fail. You have to like actually nurture that. You have to be like, absolutely, that's okay. And then the second, and this is actually the one I was driving towards, is it's not your idea, it's an idea. And you have to replace the hubris with community. And with it, it has to be that way, or else it'll never work. And it'll be like, hey, no, this is my idea, I want you to do it. And once you get past that, it's like, this is an idea, please improve it. You change the whole dynamic of the culture and innovation side of your.
You just dropped like 3 excellent nuggets for the audience that I want to make sure that we pull out. Number one is being your best self, and constantly chasing being your best self is a key component to being successful in an innovative culture, right? And then fostering the ability to fail. Like, that's the one thing that I really took away from my football career, was failure happened all of the time, whether it was on a micro level with a player who didn't execute what he was supposed to, whether it was on a bit of a more macro scale where we lost the game at the end of the week that we've been spending the entire week preparing for, or whether it was even on a bigger macro scale, which meant we got fired as a staff and I had to go look for another job. The first time I got fired from the University of Cincinnati, it was crippling. I remember it being just so earth-shattering to me, because I thought my life was going to be over and I had no idea how I would recover. But once I drank a bottle of tequila and cried it out and kind of figured out how to process those emotions, and then realized I was still living and standing, and that there was going to be more opportunity in front of me, I was like, okay, we're going to move forward now. And that one single lesson, that one moment allowed me to handle those failures better and better as I went on throughout my career. And I think allowed me to operate with maybe a little more risk or a little less fear because it happened. So for people that are in your organization that aren't going to get fired per se, you know, or maybe haven't ever dealt with that adversity, what are some of the opportunities you offer them to fail and then support them through failure?
The first aspect is how and what you and who you recognize. And make no mistake about it, you as a leader in an organization are being watched. And like, I didn't know to the degree until like this role. And in my particular role in City, I'll have people come up to me and quote me from something 3 months ago. I'm like, I had no idea I said that. I'm gonna be honest with you. Is that me? But like, you are being watched. And so when you're being watched, you have to be very mindful that the activities you perform are going to drive culture. It's going to drive behavior, and it's going to do these things. And one of the things I had no idea I did, but like, this is a good example of what happened, is one of the first 2 weeks in my role, there was an all hands on like all of our cross-functional leaders, all of our showroom directors, everyone together. We had this big issue with inventory. We had this big thing going on. We're all on the call going into these things. And there was a shift very quickly when I celebrated someone for bringing up that they couldn't get it done.
Wow.
And because then I know,
yeah,
then I know it's like, great, thank you for doing those particular things. But before then, people were afraid to share
that they didn't do it,
that they couldn't do it.
Right.
And when that happens, I think you get into a really unique spot. So I think the number one way to be able to drive innovation inside of your organization is through who and what you celebrate. And then secondarily,
banger of a note. Like that to me is, and I think that's important for pushing behavior forward, is like you have when you try to create new behavior in people and you want them to do something, you've got to celebrate the fact that they just even moved in the direction of doing it. You can't expect them to operate like a professional or a pro or do it perfect the first time they do it. But if the only thing you come to them with is criticism after the first try of doing it, you're going to crush their spirit and their motivation, energy to keep going. So, hey, great job. You did it. You tried. Fantastic. Thank you for that. Now here's some feedback on how you might be able to make it a little bit better. But I think people miss that opportunity to celebrate, whether it be failing, whether it be not, bringing up information. So I love that. What's your second one?
Oh, I don't remember. But
sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry. It'll come back at some point. But I do think you bring up a good point, is that you as a leader, where are you focused? Are you focused on the next 100 days to the next 100 years? And if you're thinking about the 100 years, like as the ladder, you must be okay with consistent and constant 80% rates of success. Yep. And almost to the point where I believe in a failure rate of 30%. I believe that 30% of all ideas that go into your organization should fail. And that's a really strong, innovative culture that you're continually trying to do this thing. But like, why I say that is I see ideas go through and past my desk all the time. I'm like, totally disagree.
Right.
Totally like, nope. I don't think this one's going to work. And, most of the time I'm accurate on those. Sometimes I'm definitely wrong on those. But nonetheless, what it also means by letting it go through is giving the freedom to fail. Giving the freedom to do it. And I care more about City's long-term tenure than I do about this idea being successful or not. And ultimately, your company is defined by your people. And your people are going to make or break this thing. And if you do not give them that runway to be able to sprint, you're in a tough spot.
Excellent. We had a lot more to go through, but I know you're a busy man. I know we got to keep tight to our schedule. So thank you so much for joining the Nudelberg Daily Huddle this morning. Thank you for sharing your stories and your lessons. I absolutely love you. I'm proud of you. Continue to the great work, and let's get down to business.
I love you too, my friend. Thanks for having me on. It's almost like we should do this daily, man.
I know. There's a lot of people asking when's Path coming back. Yeah. So, Shay, let's rock and roll.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's
get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million